Hi, this is Samuel. Now we are going to see about the exercise number 4 of the lab DevOps. And the experiment number 4 is about the CI pipeline for Python app, the GitHub and Docker Hub. And the objective of this experiment is to create a simple Python application, test it with PyTest, build a Docker image, and automatically push the image to Docker Hub using GitHub Actions CI/CD pipeline. And now let's go and see what are the softwares and tools used here. The softwares and tools used here are Python 3.11, and the second one is Git, third one is GitHub, and fourth one is Docker and Docker Hub, and final one is GitHub Actions for automation of testing and deployment. And these are some of the industry relevance. And the main industry relevance is applications, web apps, APIs, microservices, and data science pipelines are all use CI/CD pipelines with Docker in production systems, which is basically useful and reduces their time and makes it less complex compared to the normal traditional way. And now let's pass on to the commands list. Here are the list of commands to execute this. Yeah. Though now this is the command to create the repo, the directory, and this is to get into this. And this command is to run the Python app locally, and this is to pytest is to run unit tests. And docker build -t and your my name and Python. This command is used to build Docker image locally, and this command is to run the Docker container, and this is to initialize, and this is to add, and this is to commit changes. And this command is to push project to GitHub, and this command is to tag the create a release tags, and this is to push origin. Yeah, and these are the procedures to do that. Firstly, we have to create the structure, and we have to define what should be inside requirement doc I mean .txt, and we have to give a docker file and git ignore. And this is how the whole structure of this the directory looks. And this is the main YAML file which helps in the CI/CD pipeline, which helps to run the whole project. And finally, after this, we can test locally by giving Python app .py and pytest -q and docker build -t your name, and finally docker run -rm. And finally, we have initialize the git and push it to the GitHub. And finally, this is how the output looks like. After doing all this process, we can see here the commit is done. Then finally, you can see all the cases are passing. You can see the Docker image built, and this is the final outcome of this project, lab experiment. And this is the experiment number 5, which is basically Jenkins deployment using Docker. The main objective of this lab is to deploy and manage Jenkins inside Docker and use it to automate the generation and publication of a simple static website. And the softwares and tools used here are laptop or VM or with Docker and Docker Compose installed. And the second one is internet access to pull Docker images. And the third one is Jenkins running inside Docker. And the final one is basic knowledge of Git and command line. And this is the industry relevance, which is the main objective of this course. And these are the commands used to execute this lab experiment. This basically creating the directory, then going into the directory and composing Docker compose update, which runs Jenkins in detached mode, and finally Docker exe Jenkins cat, and this is the whole command which gets Jenkins admin password, and we have to insert the password in the given place. And this is the whole structure of this experiment. And finally, you can see the output. Yeah. And this is how the experiment is. And let's move on to the final, sixth experiment, which is basically manage Kubernetes resources using CLI. The objective of this lab is to install the tools and manage basic Kubernetes resources using Kubectl. And the tools or softwares required are laptops, and which is primary need for this. And the one of these OS options, Ubuntu or Debian Linux. Then final one is basic terminal or PowerShell familiarity. And these are the industry relevance and description is Docker, which acts as a containerization platform to package and run applications consistently across environments. And Minikube provides a lightweight single node Kubernetes cluster for local development and experimentation. And the Kubectl is the primary CLI tool for interacting with the Kubernetes API to create, view, and manage cluster resources. And the pods, the basic deployable units in Kubernetes, each encapsulating one or more containers running an application. And these are the some of the more things used here. And finally, we can see the commands used in this process, which is basically like Kubectl version. It checks if the Kubernetes CLI tool is installed and displays the client version. And these are the basic commands used here: minikube status, kubectl get nodes, and these are the commands used. And finally, you can see procedure. This is the procedure. This entire working. And finally, this is the directory. I mean, this is the YAML file in the directory, which basically helps in this Kubernetes deployment. And finally, this is the host link. Then this is the final outcome of this experiment, and you can see this is how the final output looks like. Okay, thank you.